And now, to close the show, as we're approaching the hour and a half mark, past the hour and a half mark, we're going to do what we've always been doing for the last couple three. This will be the third week. I like it. I just like it. I like it's different because it's fun for me. What we've done is we've taken a word and we've just kind of done some free association with a word. I think one of the reasons I like it was because when I wrote Silent America, all of my essays had one word. I'd write freedom, responsibility, power, tribes, all this other stuff. And it was fun to find a way to encapsulate a bunch of different ideas around a word. It's just good practice, and I think it's interesting. So the first week we talked about, the word was beach. And I said when we were talking about beaches that a beach is a place of peace and calmness and serenity that you can willingly go to any time of the day or night and be made whole and to free yourself from all of this turmoil and stress, because you don't have to do this. You really can go away to a place where you can be good, where you can feel good and be happy. And then last week the word was anchor. I have a little bird. He gives me these words. No one's going to find out who that bird is, but I get a little bird, comes to my window about an hour before the show and tweaks a little word, and that's the word I use. We talked about anchor, and anchor is interesting because an anchor is stability, and change is not always good. Change is sometimes terrible. It's sometimes the road ahead of us is dangerous, and we shouldn't go down there. So the idea of an anchor is maybe a person or a belief system or anything in your life that you can tie yourself to and not get blown onto the reefs. There are belief systems, and there are philosophies and religions, and there are people who are reliable. There are people who are anchors in your life, and they're never going to go away. They're always going to be there, always. Even after they die, they're there. Good parents are that. Good parents give kids a sense of anchor, and they never outgrow it. Good parents will give children what they need to deal with the storms of life forever. And some people have to learn how to do that. Some people have to learn. But if you can be an anchor to somebody, or if you have somebody who's an anchor for you, somebody who keeps you in safe waters and out of trouble, then that's a good thing to have. Our word today is dream. Dream. I'm interested that the word is dream and not dreams. So I'm going to talk about dream in the larger sense, but there's something I learned about dreams. The little dream, the actual dream, nighttime dreams, sleeping dreams. Those are not the dream I want to talk about. I talk about big dream. Let me talk about little dream for a minute. I saw a documentary on this. I am tormented by nightmares frequently. I have a lot to process. I have a lot. I fight a lot mentally. That's what I do. I mean, I look at these things and I think about Benghazi in detail. And I think about all of this stuff, and I see what's at stake, and I know the history, and I know what the consequences are. I know what happens when these things happen. I know what happened in Nazi Germany. I know what happened in Russia. I know what happened in China. I know what happened in Latin America. I know what happens. And so when I see these things happening here, and I go to sleep, my conscious ability to defend them goes down, and I'm reduced to my subconscious mind. And it's not fun. One of the things I learned from a National Geographic special was that there are two different kinds of sleep and apparently two different kinds of dream, and this is fascinating. Deep sleep results in a kind of dream that is very restorative, and these dreams are dreams about desires or dreams about things that you want, but they're fairly calm and they're soothing. A flying dream or pleasant dreams. We all know we've been woken from dreams where we just couldn't believe that we had to wake up from something that wonderful. So these dreams are very healing and very restorative, and these dreams kind of give the subconscious mind a chance to process information and make sense out of pictures and sort of, gain a picture of the universe. So there's a dream that comes to you at nighttime that makes you feel whole and heals you and calms you and finds you real peace. Those are nice. But unfortunately, another thing that happens, a different kind of dream that happens during REM sleep when you have your rapid eye movements, a different part of your brain is activated, and I need to look it up. But it's the part of your brain that deals with threat, appraisal, and apprehension. And basically what they're beginning to think of now is that those kind of dreams, nightmare dreams, anxiety dreams, what what we're starting to believe is that is evolution's way of basically having, it's a simulator. So when you have a dream about being in a fight, what you're doing is your brain is setting up for you circumstances that it fears you might encounter in the real world, and by doing it in the dream, you are actually spending simulator time like a pilot does. Amazing, the fugues in these questions tonight and the way things kind of come back and tie together. So when you have those kind of traumatic dreams, what you're really doing is you're living through a situation that hasn't developed yet, but it's trying to prepare you for it. So on some level, it's doing you some good, but these can be very, very bad. And they can really, they can really be brutal. They could be worse than reality, which is why sometimes so many of us wake up with anxiety or depression or sadness. And the reason so many of us wake up with anxiety, depression, and sadness is because we've just spent hours fighting a fight that we may have to fight, but more often than not. So many of the things that we prepare ourselves for, and so many of these anxiety things that we constantly deal with, and so many times we set our claws, and we're gonna, we're gonna go to the work, or we're gonna go to the office, and we're gonna, the boss is gonna say this, and I got to be ready for this, and we're just constantly on the defense, and we're just ready to fight, but most of the things that we actually feel this anxiety about never actually happen. So this kind of a thing can be bad, but that's the low dream. That's the real dream. Right, the dream, like I had a dream last night. I don't think that's what this word is about. There are dreams that are very soothing, and there are fantasies that are very, very attractive and very enticing. And as long as we're talking about the little dream, the dream you have at nighttime, that's all they are, is their fantasies. They're really just playing around. We know what they are. They're distractions. They're medication. A dream that stays a dream at nighttime, a dream that stays a fantasy of something that you want, that you just want, and you simply want, and that's all you're going to do, is medication. It feels good. It's a nice feeling. It actually gets in the way of the big dream. The little dream, I think, blocks the big dream. People who go to bed thinking, boy, it sure would be nice if, are prevented from doing what would actually be nice in the real world. So I want to talk about the big dream. When I mean dream, I'm really talking about vision. A dream of, the dream of landing on the moon, the dream, that kind of dream, the vision, the external vision. This is not the internal dream that we sleep at night. This is the external dream. That's what I want to close by talking about tonight. So let me just say a word or two about that dream. I have found recently in my life that up until the moment you make a conscious decision to actually achieve and consciously in the real world at least reach for a dream, a vision, if you are not living like that, you're not really alive. I don't mean to sound disparaging to anybody who takes it the wrong way, because this is fairly new for me too. I've been following occupational dreams for most of my life, and now I'm starting to catch up with them. And if you think it's a good feeling, you're more right than you know. It's unbelievably satisfying to have dreamed about something for so long and to finally have it, to finally be able to touch it, and for it to be there in your life. But I want to go further than that, because I actually have come to believe this from the bottom of my heart, especially very recently. When you live a life that is consciously, actively pursuing what you want more than anything in the world, you live on a different level than you did before. You are not nearly as sad, not nearly as depressed. You're not sad and depressed at all, as a matter of fact, because you are now living not in the hope of something, but you are living in the expectation of something, and you are taking steps, and you're doing physical, tangible things, and you build it every day. You put another couple bricks in this structure, and when you do that, you realize that everything that's come before this is not really living at all, that this is what life is about. This is what it's like to be fully alive. This is what it's like to wake up happy, go to bed happy. This is what it's like to, several times during the day, to have a moment where you just feel it. You feel the presence of this desire and this goal and this thing, this beautiful thing, and it's with you all day. And when you find that you're in traffic or you find that you're annoyed about something, you're suddenly not annoyed anymore because you're going somewhere. You've got a vision, and that vision, that dream, is what you always wanted, and you're gonna try and get it. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this. I think everybody knows that not everybody in life gets their dreams, and everybody knows that it's very difficult to achieve a dream, and the bigger the dream is, the harder it is to achieve. But the thing I've come to realize lately is this, and this is the one thing I'll leave you with tonight. It's not the destination, it's the journey. I know that sounds hackneyed and cliched, but just listen for a second, right? It's living. It's living on a plane of acting on what you want. If what you want is noble and honorable and decent and good, if what you want is life, if what you want is to live to the maximum, and you want the people around you to live to their maximum, if that's what your dream is, if your dream is to walk on the moon or do something that difficult, or maybe your dream is just to take a long sea voyage, just be gone for a couple months, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. When you make a decision to obtain that, rather than just go to sleep and pretend it, when you make a decision to obtain it, you live a happy, fulfilled, fundamentally different life than you did before that. And I've been bringing so many of my long-term little d dreams, night dreams, it'd be nice if dreams. And I am doing my conscious best now on a daily basis. All the time, many times an hour, I start thinking, what can I do right now? What can I do right this second to get me closer to this thing that I want so much, you know? And as somebody who has gone through this and who was a fundamentally optimistic guy before then, I can tell you there's a difference between optimism and happiness. And that difference is, are you walking towards your dream, or are you being blown down the river of time away from it? And you don't have to get there. You just have to try. You don't have to arrive. You have to walk. And I've been doing a lot of walking lately, and I've never been so happy in my life. I didn't think it would be possible to be this happy. I just had no idea. I am amazed every day. Every day I wake up a little happier than I was the day before, and I was pretty happy the day before, and I go to bed a little bit happier because I realize that every single day now I am doing something that I feel is getting me closer to what I want more than life, than anything. And here's the last thing I'll say. Earlier today, by sheer coincidence, that's probably not coincidence at all, but earlier today, I don't know, somewhere this afternoon, I saw something that was so beautiful that I simply don't have the ability to describe it. And I'm pretty good at describing things. But what I saw this afternoon was so transcendently beautiful. It was just so astonishingly beautiful, just so perfect that you can't even really appreciate it because all of your data recorders are on. You're just trying to take it in. You're just like, I can't comprehend how beautiful this is. But it was earlier this afternoon. And I'll tell you this. I can't tell you about that because, number one, I don't understand it well enough yet. I don't understand the effect it had on me well enough to be able to talk about it, and I'm never going to talk about this. This thing today was for me. But I will tell you one thing. I will tell you about what I saw prior to this. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in life, only to give you an example of something that I can talk about, that I have thought about, and let you know that what I saw earlier on today topped that by a pretty big margin. All these threads coming together, for this show today. I may have talked about this before, but I'll never get tired of talking about it, so I'll talk about it one last time. when I learned to fly, after wanting to fly fighter jets my whole life, I was in a little glider, and I had a canopy and I had a stick, and I got towed up in the desert, and it's usually very dry in the desert, which means no clouds, but it had rained earlier, so there were clouds for one of the few days in the desert. And it was in the wintertime, and the snow had fallen on the San Gabriel Mountains, and we were on the north side, on the desert side, up in a little town called Llano. And I got a tow up to about 2,000 feet, and they dropped me off on the ridge line. And there's a rare form of lift in the desert where the wind is coming towards the mountains, and as the wind comes towards the mountains, that moving air that's moving horizontally has to go somewhere. It can't go through the mountain. So as it hits the mountain, it goes upward. And this is called ridge lift. And the actual part of the air that's moving upward is actually very close to the mountain. It doesn't extend too far out. But I'd just gotten my wings, which I'd wanted my whole life. I had my wings. I was flying in an airplane the size of a bathtub with wings on it. And we pulled in. I was with another guy who took pictures. I have pictures of that day. And he was in a two-seater and I was in a single-seater, a guy named Andy Hollebeck. And we pulled in tight on this ridge line, and we had to stay close to those mountains in order to continue to get this ridge lift so we could stay in the air. And we were flying so close. Now, you have to know what you're doing here, because you have to keep your airspeed up. You got to be prepared for failure. So let's just put all that aside, because I was careful. But I was flying along mountain range a wingspan away from the trees, and I could see the tracks of squirrels in the snow. And the air was cold, and it smelled of forest, because we were up in the forest. We're up in the tree line up there in the forest, and we're just making these steep banks and coming around these hills. And I never felt so alive and so free in my entire life. We went all the way down almost to Wrightwood, and we turned around and we came back. Then I saw something that is the second most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. We're flying back. The sun is setting. I can't make this up. The sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean, which you could just barely see at this altitude. We're right along almost at the full length of the San Gabriel's. Baden-Powell's about 9,000 feet. Baldy's somewhere around in there. And as we were flying along the ridge, the air was rising. But just for this one miracle of a day, there was enough moisture in the air so that as the air rose, it cooled down, it condensed. And that meant that off my left wing, there was an inverted waterfall of clouds. There were clouds that were falling upwards into the sky, just streamers of clouds going up. And I dipped my wing in there, and I realized I could be up here all day, because we have become, over thousands and thousands of years of trial and error and death, and all of my ancestors extending all the way back, every single one of them a survivor. All of that, all of the time, my great-great-grandfathers were coal miners and mill workers in Lancashire, and these people lived brutal, filthy, terrible lives. They had 10 children. They're dead by the time they're 35. All of those people, all of those sacrifices, all of that hardship, all of that, to put me in this little machine without an engine or without an electrical system, just a collection of fiberglass and tubes and wires, and I could fly along a mountain all day and put my wing in a river of smoke that was rising up above me. And as we flew down that ridge line, climbed a little more altitude, and that deck I told you about was below me, and there was another deck above me, and the sun was setting over the Pacific, and I could see it shining over the Pacific. And for the space of about 2 minutes there, that sun was right between the two decks, and there was columns of gold above me, and there were columns of like pink and purple and gold below me, and I was flying through this hallway of air, and I'd just gotten my wings, and it's all I'd ever wanted to do in my whole life. And I looked around, and I had this thought as clear as day. I said aloud, I know I must have said it aloud, I said, if I go through the grill of a truck on Pearblossom Highway on the drive home today, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Doing this has made my entire life worth living. Everything I've ever done, everything I suffered, and everything I had to put off, and all of the loneliness and all the pain and all this, worth it, just to have done this one thing. And that was the second most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. But earlier today, I saw something prettier than that. I really did. I saw something prettier than that just for a moment. And I don't think I'll ever get over that. I really don't. I hope I don't. So my advice to you out there would be just this. Don't Don't dream at night as a narcotic to take you away from doing the thing in life that you want. You get one chance at this. You don't get a second chance. You don't get a receipt at the end. You don't go back to live it again. You have an obligation to be happy. You have a right to be happy. You have a moral obligation to be happy. Not at other people's expenses, but you have a moral obligation to be happy. Even in this world, even with Barack Obama, people didn't die for this freedom for us to sit around and despair. You have an obligation to walk towards that vision. Find out what it is. You know what it is. Write it down. Make it clear. Walk towards it every day. Take a step. And you will be amazed. You'll be amazed. You will not be able to comprehend how different your life will be if you just take a step every day towards what you want. If what you want is worthwhile and noble, the journey will be enough. And if you think I'm going to just settle for the journey, you're out of your minds. I mean to go to the goalposts. I mean to go to the goal line for this and spike the ball. But if I don't, that's okay, because walking there has been the best time of my life. I think I'll leave it at that. That's Stratosphere Lounge episode 29. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that means as much to you as it does to me. And as always, thanks for your support in allowing me to live this incredible life. And for all of you out there who send me messages, keep sending them, because they mean the world to me. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Find that vision, the big D dream. Go get it. We'll see you.